I'm Marcus Fisher, and today we are going to learn more about InsideOut, which is the nonprofit organization founded in 2011. I'm here with their CEO, Mike Maglish. Mike, what is human trafficking?
Human trafficking, by definition, is the buy, sell, or trade of anything of value in exchange for a sexual act. So I think a lot of times when people think of human trafficking, they think of somebody going in and busting down a door and pulling girls out of a forced situation, and certainly that happens. But a lot of times, too, human trafficking, like 36% of trafficked victims are sold by their own family members. Also, we find girls, Marcus, that in all kinds of situations. If a girl, for instance, runs away from foster care and she ends up at the tattoo artist down the street, and the tattoo artist says, "I've got a friend. You can stay at his house. You can sleep on his couch. He's going to give you a cheeseburger and a place to stay." Oftentimes, that's how these kinds of things start. It is something of value in exchange, and what we find is that girls find themselves in these bad situations where they're being coerced, and our job as an organization is to assess what's going on and to find these girls and to help them.
So the question I want to ask, I've been seeing it on the news. I'm sure folks have been seeing it more and more come to the forefront. But how big of an issue is this nationally, internationally, locally?
Let's start off with internationally, because that's actually why we founded InsideOut. InsideOut was founded, like you said, in 2011 by my wife. And my wife founded InsideOut as a dream. When I looked at her in 2010, I just asked her what her dream was and what she wanted to do with her life. And she wasn't quite sure at first. She was a stay-at-home mom. And Marcus, I tell you what, man, this woman's got a heart as big as an ocean, right? And so I said to her, what do you want to do? And then 2 weeks later, she says, "I want to open a salon." And I go, "Open a salon?" I'm like, okay, that part registered. That part made sense to me. And I said, okay, well, then we'll get your cosmetology degree. We'll get you going. And she said, "And I want to put an end to human trafficking." And I go, okay. And so we started off with this idea of international human trafficking. We understood what that was because it's a huge, huge issue. Sure. What we were not aware of or prepared for at the time was just how big of an issue it is here nationally and locally. And so as we got going, we actually opened up the salon and got some hairstylists and started cutting hair, letting people know about what human trafficking is, and people would leave a tip, and that tip would go to the fight against human trafficking. Ultimately, our stylists would go overseas and they would work with these girls overseas, and we actually opened a salon overseas that helps these girls who've been brought out of human trafficking to have a skill so that they don't go back into human trafficking. We had the international thing pretty much figured out when we realized that it was a really big deal nationally and locally. As a matter of fact, Marcus, I was telling you earlier that in 2014, Idaho scored an F on our human trafficking awareness and response. And what people don't realize is it's a really big deal here in the Treasure Valley. Our detectives are doing a great job, but the reality is it's just hard to completely get a handle on, and especially now with the internet and different apps, traffickers are always 2 to 3 steps ahead.
So Mike, and so like you said, here locally, we're here in Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
And most people wouldn't think that that's an issue in Boise, Idaho, which is part of the reason why we're doing this, to raise awareness.
Correct.
How can someone tell an at-risk girl or a person that's being trafficked?
Mm-hmm.
What are the signs to look for? How can someone be proactive in helping prevent it?
That's a great question. There are plenty of signs that you look for. There's always coercion that's involved in human trafficking. So what's happening is somebody is coercing somebody else to do something they normally wouldn't otherwise do. A couple things to keep in mind, people don't realize, is that the average trafficked victim gets started between the ages of 12 and 14. So we're talking about girls that are just really coming into their teen years and really dealing with self-esteem issues and things like that. Girls and people who are at risk are people who are vulnerable. There's vulnerabilities that get preyed upon, and so any girl can be at risk. It doesn't matter their socioeconomic background, but there are some things that you can look for and you can see. Drug use is always gets associated with human trafficking. Almost 100% of the time, there's going to be drugs that are a part of that. The girls we work with, many of them are 2 to 3 years behind in their education. So if you see girls that are starting to miss school and starting to exhibit risky behaviors, like I said, a lot of trafficking is being done on phones, online, and so if teenage girls are talking to people they shouldn't be talking to, if they're hiding their phones, we're hearing more and more scary stories of men who are preying upon teenagers, not boys and girls, online and through their apps and stuff like that. So things to keep an eye out for. I think a lot of times we think human trafficking, you see the trafficker, it's present, and so we know it's happening, like in New Orleans or something like that. That's just not the case. And as a matter of fact, since most are being coerced and sold by their own family members, it's stuff that we may never physically see, and that's the scary part.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So we talked a little bit before we started filming about the 3 A's. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to, kind of let you highlight the 3 A's and what that means for us.
Yeah. So Inside Out has 3 pillars, and our 3 pillars are awareness, advocacy, and action. Right now, we fight 100% locally. We don't fight overseas because the issue is big here. In 2014, Shared Hope International gave us an F, the state of Idaho, an F in our human trafficking awareness and response. And so at that point, we actually found our first trafficked victim, and we have been working with girls ever since. We've got a large group of girls we work with now that are all from the Treasure Valley. And so what we've done is we've had to go through a bit of a structural overhaul as an organization. Since we're not working overseas, we determined we have 3 A's, and those 3 A's are awareness, advocacy, and action. So under the awareness pillar, it's just like this. We want people to know human trafficking is happening because, if people don't know, how can we stop it?
Sure.
How can we prevent it? How can we be spokesmen for those who are being trafficked? How can we let the traffickers know that they don't belong here and they're not welcome, right? That's the first thing. Also under awareness, when people hear about human trafficking, sometimes they can self-identify and say, well, that's happened to me. And we have a lot of people who actually come up to us and they tell us, wow, I didn't know that that's what human trafficking is, but that's what's happened to me and that's what's happening to me. My favorite story, Marcus, is a girl who, once she heard about what human trafficking is through our awareness, we actually have a curriculum that we took into the detention center. We were teaching it. This girl heard it and she said, wow, that's getting ready to happen to me. And the story is a profound story. She's going to share it someday when she's old enough. But she actually got to avoid being sold, even though it was already set up to happen.
Wow.
So dude, what an awesome thing,
Right.
What a great thing. And we love her. She's a fantastic person. She's doing great. That's our joy. Our joy is getting out and letting the community know. And it's easy enough. It's just people saying, hey, let's let the community know what's happening here. Advocacy is the pillar that says, hey, we're going to help these girls.
Yep.
And so we look at their scaffolding. What is it in their life that they need? We actually provide counseling for the girls through our partner organization, Community Outreach Behavioral Services. They are fantastic. They actually provide counseling for all the girls at no cost to them and to their families. And so we look at their situation and we say, what can we do for this individual girl to help her to be able to be successful? Right. And we actually avoid the word rescue. People say, how many girls have you rescued? And we just want to make a distinction that we don't rescue any girls. They have to choose to want a better life, and they've got to choose self-rescue. So we want to provide the tools, and we want to connect the relationship dots so that they can be successful. That's all under advocacy. Sure. Sometimes it's just taking them to their drug court, taking them to their doctor's appointments, things like that. And then action's our last pillar. And Marcus, action is just, it's letting the community know how to get involved and ultimately how we can put an end to human trafficking and make sure that Boise and the Treasure Valley, that we've got healthy kids and healthy teenagers who know that they live in a community that love them and care about them. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Yeah.
So anything specifically that people can get involved? Is there a place that they can donate, or is there any kind of events or fundraisers, somewhere that people can get involved, maybe financially or something like that?
Absolutely. So we just got done, I was telling you about our gala event that we had in May. And so we're planning on doing that again next year. That's our big fundraiser that we're going to be doing every year. But we also do little things. We have a shoe drive going on right now. And so it's pretty simple. Give us your old shoes. Give us shoes, and we get paid by the pound. So get as many shoes as you can. Get your friends together, get your family together, collect your shoes, and bring them by. We have a physical location, and that's our salon. So the salon's still in existence. You can bring the shoes by there and drop them off. It's 591 East State Street in Eagle. And so, especially ladies, if you need a haircut, right, come on by, set something up. 695-7821 is the phone number. That's 695-7821. They'd love to hear from you. Get a haircut, leave a tip. 100% of the tip goes to the fight against human trafficking. Turn in your shoes. Last thing is, Marcus, we're doing a campaign right now. We're looking for 200 people to say, I want to give $20 a month to help these girls. And at $20 a month, we'll be able to provide for these girls in incredible ways. And so I'm willing to believe that we can find 200 people to donate $20 a month to the cause. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, Mike. Again, awareness, advocacy, and action. Hopefully we learned something about the organization InsideOut. And also, what we can do to stop human trafficking. Thanks for your time.